Welcome to Iraqi Dinar News, where you receive real and authentic updates about the Iraqi Dinar. If you want to stay informed with moment-by-moment developments, make sure to subscribe to the channel and like the video. In today's update, we are taking a careful and analytical look at a circulating claim within parts of the dinar community that suggests a very specific and near-term timeline for so-called email notifications tied to exchange or redemption activity. According to the information being shared, there is speculation that notifications could be triggered between Monday the 23rd and Wednesday the 25th, with some individuals suggesting activity could extend into Thursday the 26th. The narrative also mentions references to redemption center leaders and alleged communications from Treasury-related channels. Now, before we go any further, it is important to clearly establish the framework we use here on this channel. Our goal is not to dismiss or validate rumors based on emotion or excitement, but to analyze them through a financial, economic, and policy-based lens. This helps us separate speculation from verifiable developments and understand what, if anything, such claims might mean for followers of the Iraqi Dinar. Let's begin by examining the core of this claim. The idea being circulated is that a coordinated set of notifications, presumably emails, would signal the beginning of a process allowing individuals to exchange Iraqi dinar under special conditions. The timeline being discussed is extremely narrow, focusing on just a few consecutive days, and is being attributed to unnamed sources described as people in the know. From a financial systems perspective, this raises several important questions. First, any large-scale currency exchange process, especially one involving international participants, would require significant coordination between central banks, commercial banks, regulatory bodies, and payment systems. These processes are not typically initiated through informal or unverified email notifications. Instead, they are announced through official channels, such as central bank statements, government releases, or coordinated communications from regulated financial institutions. In the case of Iraq, the primary authority responsible for currency policy is the Central Bank of Iraq. Any major change involving the Iraqi dinar, whether it is a redenomination, revaluation, or structural reform, would be expected to come with formal announcements, policy documentation, and clear implementation guidelines. These would be publicly accessible and reported by credible financial media outlets. When we analyze the current claim through that lens, we notice a key gap. There is no accompanying official confirmation from recognized institutions. There are no policy papers, no central bank briefings, and no international financial organization statements supporting the idea of imminent email-triggered exchanges. Another important aspect to consider is the reference to redemption centers. This concept has been widely discussed in speculative circles over the years, often described as specialized locations where dinar holders could exchange currency at preferential rates. However, in practical banking and financial infrastructure, currency exchange typically occurs through licensed banks, foreign exchange providers, and regulated financial platforms. The introduction of a parallel system of redemption centers would require regulatory approval, legal frameworks, and integration with existing financial systems. So far, there is no verifiable evidence that such a system has been formally established or recognized. Now let's shift to the timeline aspect of the claim. The suggestion that a major financial event would occur within a specific 2 or 3 day window based on informal communications should be approached with caution. Financial markets and currency systems operate with a high degree of complexity and are influenced by a wide range of factors, including monetary policy, fiscal stability, oil revenues, geopolitical conditions, and international trade relationships. In Iraq's case, the value and stability of the dinar are closely tied to oil exports, government spending, and foreign reserves. Over the past several years, Iraq has been working on economic reforms aimed at improving financial transparency, strengthening the banking sector, and reducing reliance on cash-based transactions. These are long-term structural efforts, and while they are important for the future of the dinar, they do not typically translate into sudden, unannounced exchange events. It is also worth noting that the global financial system places a strong emphasis on transparency and predictability. Sudden, large-scale changes without prior notice could create significant disruptions, including market volatility, liquidity challenges, and regulatory concerns. For this reason, central banks and governments usually provide advanced guidance when implementing major policy shifts. Now, some viewers might be wondering whether there could be any scenario in which such notifications could occur behind the scenes before becoming public. While it is true that financial institutions often communicate internally before making public announcements, these communications are usually limited to operational readiness and are not directed at the general public. Moreover, they are part of structured, documented processes rather than informal or speculative messaging. Let's also address the psychological aspect of these kinds of claims. The Dinar community has, for many years, been exposed to recurring narratives about imminent events, often tied to specific dates or insider information. These narratives can create cycles of anticipation and disappointment, which can be emotionally taxing for those closely following them. By taking a step back and focusing on verifiable data, we can maintain a more balanced and informed perspective. From a short-term standpoint, what does this mean for Iraqi Dinar followers? In the absence of official confirmation, there is no concrete evidence to suggest that any exchange process tied to these specific dates is about to begin. This means that in practical terms, there is no immediate action required based on this claim. It is always advisable to rely on established financial institutions and official communications when making decisions related to currency exchange. From a longer-term perspective, the outlook for the Iraqi dinar is still tied to broader economic fundamentals. Iraq's efforts to modernize its banking system, improve governance, and diversify its economy are all positive indicators. However, these are gradual processes that unfold over time. Any meaningful change in the value or usability of the dinar will likely be the result of sustained economic progress rather than a single, sudden event. It is also important to consider the role of international organizations such as the International Monetary Fund and the World Bank, which often work with countries like Iraq on economic reforms. These organizations emphasize stability, transparency, and gradual implementation of policy changes. Their involvement further supports the idea that major currency developments are unlikely to occur in an abrupt or unannounced manner. Another angle to examine is the technological and logistical infrastructure required for mass currency exchanges. Banks and financial institutions would need to ensure compliance with anti-money laundering regulations, know your customer requirements, and reporting standards. These processes are highly regulated and cannot be bypassed through informal mechanisms. This further reinforces the importance of relying on official channels for any legitimate exchange activity. Now, let's talk about risk management. For anyone holding Iraqi dinar, it is important to approach the situation with a clear understanding of the risks involved. Currency speculation can be highly uncertain, and outcomes are influenced by a wide range of factors beyond individual control. Making decisions based on unverified timelines or rumors can lead to unnecessary risk exposure. Instead, a more prudent approach is to stay informed, monitor credible sources, and maintain realistic expectations. This includes following updates from the Central Bank of Iraq, reputable financial news outlets, and recognized economic analysts. By doing so, you can build a more accurate picture of the situation and make decisions based on evidence rather than speculation. As we continue to monitor developments, it is also important to keep an eye on key economic indicators in Iraq. These include foreign exchange reserves, inflation rates, government budget performance, and oil market trends. Changes in these areas can provide valuable insights into the direction of the Iraqi economy and, by extension, the dinar. In conclusion, while the claim about email notifications and specific dates may generate interest and discussion, there is currently no verified evidence to support it. From a financial and economic standpoint, such an event would require official confirmation and a structured implementation process, neither of which have been observed at this time. For now, the best course of action is to remain informed, stay cautious, and focus on credible information. The Iraqi dinar remains a topic of interest due to Iraq's ongoing economic development, but any significant changes are likely to be gradual and well documented rather than sudden and unannounced. If you found this analysis helpful and want to continue receiving responsible, fact-based updates on the Iraqi dinar and Iraq's economy, make sure to subscribe to the channel and like the video. And as always, please remember that this content is for informational purposes only and should not be considered financial advice.